Hi everyone, it's Jay Egersdorff here previewing game week 30 of the Fantasy Premier League. Loads to get through this week. Chat about game week 29, preview game week 30. We've got the FPL donut, left field options and the captain options. So let's get straight in. What a nightmare game week 29. So commiserations anyone who had Uber and Pogba. Unbelievable, both those highly owned premium players each getting minus points. So I think a lot of people probably found this week quite tricky. I think if you got anywhere near 50, then you were doing really, really good. So I got 35 and I did a -4 as well, so 31. So that's really not great. And I'm kind of hoping that's the end now as we go into this last sort of final sort of quarter of the season. 664k overall I'm at, which is pretty hopeless, but still keeping dead positive and still think I can climb up the rankings given the squad that I have now and the chips that I have available. So the people doing the damage, I brought in Vardy, so that felt like a pretty good move. He got 8 points and Ashley Barnes scored again, which is awesome. But some of the problems, talked about Pogba, talked about Uber. I don't have Uber, but I'm talking generally here about the problems people might have had. Salah blanked, Sterling blanked, Son blanks, Aguero blanks. Matt Doherty, if you have him like I do, got a pretty useless 1 point. Bennett would have been the sub and he gets 5, so there's another sort of 4 points that's gone down the drain. Wan-Bissaka, I'm probably not the only one who had him on the bench as well and lost out on assists, so pretty frustrating. But like I say, I think it's one of those sort of anomaly game weeks that you get from time to time. I mean, what can you do? Pogba misses a last minute penalty. I mean, come on. Nightmare. So the good news is I didn't captain Pogba. That would have made me feel even worse. I captained Sterling and of course he blanked as well. So who'd have seen that come in? Did anybody give Bournemouth a fighting chance? And did anybody think that they would only lose by 1? I don't think anybody did. So these are the game weeks you just draw a line under and move on. I mean, what can you do? It's funny actually because I was in the pub on Saturday lunchtime and I was watching the Spurs Arsenal game and Son trudges off. In fact, I'll tell a lie. I was watching it from about half time and I'm sat there with my pint. You know when you're in the pub and the commentary you can't quite hear and you kind of can see the screen but it's a bit far away. And I'm sat there, I'm like, I've not seen Son do anything. Is he even playing? And at first I thought maybe he's not playing and maybe I'll get an auto sub. And then the first time I saw him was when he got subbed off. So he played about 70 odd minutes, gets brought off, and then 5 minutes after that, 10 minutes after that, Uber misses that penalty. And I just thought, you know what, it's going to be one of them game weeks this week, because if you had Uber and Son in your team, you'd be on 1 point, wouldn't you, between the two of them after two pretty premium level players have already played, and then the Pogba thing and all the rest. So draw a line under it. I think game week 30 it could be the game week of bounce back. So I think there's some really good fixtures. Some teams have some really good fixtures. So some of the things I've picked out. Spurs had that great win midweek against Dortmund. They're through obviously in the Champions League. May give some headaches down the line with rotation and stuff, but for now, Son got brought off early in that game because he had potential of a yellow card, would have meant he'd be banned from the next round. So he's going to be quite fresh. Spurs are going to be pretty confident. They're playing a Southampton team that a bit up and down, but they're not keeping loads of clean sheets, so that could be an opportunity there. You've got West Ham, so if you're like me and you've probably got Anderson or maybe Antonio or some West Ham players in your team ahead of game week 31, they're away to Cardiff. Cardiff have shipped 10 goals in 3 Premier League games, and they've just unfortunately lost Sol Bamba to a long-term injury. So commiserations obviously to him, but he was key in that defence, I feel, for them. So you'd fancy West Ham in that game. A lot of us have stacked up on Leicester players, so we're talking Harvey Barnes, we're talking Vardy, we're talking Gray, we're talking Maddison, Pereira, of course, he's been a bit of a flop. So they're at home to Fulham. I mean, you don't get many better fixtures than that at the minute. We've got Liverpool at home, Man City at home, Chelsea at home. We've got Pogba, who's been rested technically, so he's banned for that Man United game. And how confident are Man United right now? And I know Arsenal is a tough match, but they've got a Europa game to navigate tonight. So, that means they're not going to be as well rested. So I think I'm feeling quite positive ahead of game week 30, and I'm hoping that looking at the fixtures there, you've got to have some points amongst that lot, surely. Another one, just thinking off the top of my head, Matt Doherty, of course, he's rested. So I know Chelsea away is tricky, but on the basis that the guy plays pretty much as a winger, and they've got a game tonight. There's every chance that could reap the rewards for him. So that's how I'm thinking about Game Week 30. I'm pretty positive about it. The other thing that I wanted to chat about just around that, and I know we talked about it last week, this Game Week 31 and the reduced fixtures, it kind of makes it tricky who you can and you can't bring in. I'm getting a lot of people reaching out to me and saying, what's your plan for the double game week, Jay? What's your plan? What's your chip strategy? What's happening? And I saw an interesting tweet that I'd spotted last night. A lot of you probably know this guy from Twitter, a guy called Ben Krellin. Hey, Ben. He's the whiz of spreadsheets, Excel spreadsheets and fixture planning and all this stuff. And the tweet he'd put out was that he felt there was 16 potential fixture possibilities, 16, depending on who gets through in the FA Cup and the different ways in which they rearrange the fixtures. Now that was 16 possibilities if the double game weeks land in 32, game weeks 32 and game weeks 35, which is, for a number of different reasons, internationals and Champions League and stuff, that's where people think they're going to land. So that's 16, even working on the basis that it's in them 2 game weeks. And I'm thinking, and we've seen this from the Premier League before, they can spring a surprise. We've seen matches played on Thursday nights, we've seen matches land in game weeks where there is European football. It all depends, I guess, on... there's a whole number of factors, isn't there? There's like which fixtures want to be on TV, then there's local factors like the police actually being able to have matches in certain days and have the resource, and a whole bunch of different factors that we won't go into, but the bottom line is there's loads. So I really don't think you can have a super solid plan until we know those fixtures really. You can have a pretty loose plan, but then at the same time, you look at Spurs have gone through in the Champions League, Man United have gone through. So there's going to be a Premier League game sandwiched between 2 pretty important Champions League games. So even if that game, I can't remember, I think Spurs play Huddersfield between their next 2 Champions League games. Well, FPL managers will be like, great, I'm going to get on Kane, triple captain, or certainly captain him, bang. Well, you might not play. So you can't really have, I don't think, that plan until we at least know the fixtures and get a clearer idea of the state of play. So that's what I wanted to say on that. So that's Game Week 30. Left field options. So again, tricky because I can't see why you'd bring in a player at the minute that doesn't have a fixture in Game Week 31. You could, of course, but you're probably going to have to ship them out again next week. So I've pulled out 3 that do have a game in Game Week 31. So defender, midfielder, attacker. Defender, I've picked out Fredericks from West Ham. He's come into the team. He did have a half appearance when Zabaleta started and had an absolute nightmare. Fredericks got subbed on at half time. Got 2 bonus points last week. I know this guy from previous. I did watch him in the Championship last year, and I think he's a guy who's pretty attacking. I do quite like the look of him, so he might be one to watch. Another couple of names that are a bit more familiar to us in FPL, so I've gone for Brooks at Bournemouth. He's back. He was flying before he got injured. 5 million. They've got some awesome fixtures. He could be a good option. And then up front, he's a name that he's been ticking along, and he scored last week. He'd had a couple of blanks, and people I think are struggling to kind of fit him in because of Uber and Aguero and the way the money's distributed. But if you can get to him, he could be a good differential, and that's you know I'm going to say this wrong. Higuain. You know I'm really bad with names. Higuain, right? And I think he could be a good option because a lot of people are going to go for Hazard. And logically, you'd think that if Hazard does well, this guy would do well. Hazard is probably going to be providing the assist, you'd have thought. So he could be one to look at for the next couple of game weeks. Okay, so that's the left field options and my terrible pronunciation of names. Donut, it's a battle, isn't it? You've got... I think we're going to have to go Pogba, aren't we, for the donut of the week? But there's honourable mentions to Aubameyang, Richarlison, Pereira, even Matt Doherty cost a lot of people probably an auto sub. Richarlison probably did as well, I guess. So a whole bunch of donuts, but I'm sorry, Pogba, we've got to give it to you this time. And then finally, interesting on the captain choices. So this is going to really divide the community, the FPL community, I think, because you've got Salah. So let's look at the contenders. So you've got Salah, you've got a Man City player, which is probably Sterling or Aguero. You've got the Chelsea lads, Hazard and Higuain. And then Kane creeping in away to Southampton. Kane has slowly He's coming back from injury, but he is showing form, albeit single-digit goals, but he is showing form, he's showing consistency. So I guess let's rule out Kane just on the basis that not many people have him. Hazard could be, or the Chelsea lads could be an option. I think it's probably risky in like Liverpool and Man City having home fixtures as well, but it could be a good differential option. So then your coin toss comes between Liverpool, who aren't scoring loads of goals. I know they got 5 against Watford, but other than that, the matches surrounding them, they've not shown promise of scoring lots. Salah himself isn't on hugely great form, and up against City, and City, I know, funny, they put 6 past Chelsea, and then they've only scored 1 in each of the next 2 matches. But this is the same Watford team that Liverpool put 5 past. And part of me is just thinking, I'm looking at all the factors here to break it down. I think a big one is the kick-off time. So 5:30 kick-offs, players tend to, if you watch interviews and listen to players, they tend to like the 3 o'clocks or the more evening kick-offs because it's more regular with their routine and their body clock and stuff. And Sunday at 2 o'clock for the Liverpool-Burnley, often, you know, even feels a bit weird when you go to those matches as a fan. If you go for a pint before the game, it's like 11 o'clock. Yeah, it's weird. So I'm guessing I'm edging there maybe a bit on the City side, but then against that you've got the Pep rotation factor. So you'd hope Sterling will play, but they pay, or Aguero, but they pay Schalke in midweek, and will he be rested? Salah not in great form. Burnley, reasonable form. So I think for me that's your coin toss, and you've got to decide whether you want the comfort of knowing that Salah is definitely going to play, or the risk reward that City, we know, are so brilliant at home, and if you catch it right you could be rewarded. So that's with Beyond Captain. So thank you for tuning in, thank you for all your support. Shout out as ever to all my guys on the Patreon, the FPL Masterclass. Thanks for helping me do that project. Really enjoy doing it. I'm just finalising it, the next issue of Fanning the Stands, and it's going to be all about West Ham. Got a really good guy who supported West Ham for a long time, and he's going to give us a heads up as to what's happening with them. Find out what's happening with Mr. Antonio and Mr. Arnautovic. Will be interesting. So that'll be up soon, and yeah, have a great game week, enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you back for game week 31. Cheers everybody.